A while ago, I made this video, and it instantly became one of my most hated videos. I received so many negative comments from you guys, I was genuinely considering just going back and deleting it. But before hitting the delete button, I wanted to make sure that the video really was as bad as you guys were making out. So I went and watched the video again for the first time in many months since I published it, with fresh eyes, you might say. And I thought it was really good. I thought it was one of my better videos. But I can absolutely see why it was contentious, because there was a lot of Wittgenstein and not that much audio. So in today's video, I'm going to explain this from a completely different perspective, firing up my DAW and actually looking at some audio. But before we boot up Reaper, I wanted to explain exactly why this matters. So I'm going to give you guys the take-home message of this video right up front before I get into the details, before I do some singing and discuss all of the final points of the video. I'm going to give you the take-home message right now, and that is consumers, they can talk about their subjective impressions of music, of a master, of a mix, of a composition. They just have the subjective. But professionals, they don't only just have their subjective impressions of stuff, they have something more. In addition to their subjective impressions, they also have access to convention. So some people call this the tricks of the trade, some people call it the secrets of the pros, or more simply you could just say the rule book or something like that. And Picasso purportedly said, learn the rules like a pro so you can break them like an artist. But whether you're a pro or an artist, rules exist, and to be either of those things, you must be aware of what the rules are. And if you aren't aware of the rules, then you're just a consumer, a layman. That is the difference. But whether you're an engineer or a musician, one of the most cringe things that you can do is hide behind the excuse that everything's subjective. Music is subjective, so you can't tell me I'm wrong. You can't tell me that my mix isn't good, my mastering isn't good, my playing isn't good, the song isn't good, because everything's subjective. Bullshit. In order to pass grade 8, you need to perform and do certain things which an examiner will assess. And this isn't subjective or whimsical, arbitrary. If you get 10 different good qualified examiners in a room and judge your performance, there will be reasonable consistency between all of them. And if you give 10 different decent mastering engineers the same song to master, there will be remarkable consistency between all of the masters. And even in disciplines with more creative freedom, like in mixing, you can still listen to a recent Bring Me the Horizon record and hear how it is mixed flawlessly. I can take some music which I absolutely despise listening to, but I can still say that it's a good quality example in the particular genre, that it was recorded and mixed and mastered well, while simultaneously hating listening to it. And that's my exact experience when I listen to some particular ABBA songs, or to some degree some Fleetwood Mac songs. But as a professional, I'm able to identify that something is good quality whilst still subjectively finding it shite. And that's because consumers just have subjectivity, whereas professionals have subjectivity plus the rulebook. So by definition, anyone who argues that music is just purely subjective and that there are no rules is just admitting that they don't know what the rules are. So here's a tune that I recorded at my old studio with my mate, and I'm just looking here, and we recorded it 13 years ago. Time flies, and this is called Time's Arrow, this song. And this is a great song, but despite the fact that it says here Vox everywhere, we didn't actually record any vocals. So I'm just going to lay down a quick scratch vocal now. Okay, so I recorded a lead vocal and a backing vocal, and then I did it again with an alternative take. And then we can listen to both of them and see which one is better. Now, I've got some processing here. I've got curvature, I've got class A. I'm using the toast to get the sound that I'm after. And notice how the alternative take just goes into the same processing. So it's the exact same processing. I'm singing the same lyrics. Let's listen to the difference in the sound between the two takes. I got the juiciest signal is coming down your exhale. But can you spot me inside just cruising around in my car? Okay, let's have a listen to the alternative take. Juicy signal is coming down your exhaust. Okay, now many people watching this should think that the one that I just played sounds like a heap of shit. And there's a reason for that. So let's examine this and see why that is. So we can firstly just bypass all the effects and listen to the raw take. Let's listen to the lead vocal completely raw.
Well, I got the juiciest signal, it's coming down your axilla.
And compare it to the alternative one. I got the juiciest signal, it's coming down your axilla. So I'm saying the same lyrics, it's the same, but what is different? Firstly, the microphone is far away and sounds weird and echoey. So technically, it doesn't sound that good. And then secondly, in terms of performance, this one hasn't got any charisma. It sounds awful. It's like I'm not trying to sing properly. I'm not hitting the notes right. It's like too low. It's not, from a performance aspect, it's not very good. This one also isn't brilliant, but it's way better. I'm at least attempting to hit notes and attempting to give a bit of charisma to the performance. There's many different reasons why this is absolutely awful. And the other one, although I'm not the best singer in the world, it sounds significantly better, the other one. I think most people are going to agree. And the only people who aren't going to agree with that are people who are going to be arguing dishonestly and being like, no, music is subjective and I can prefer that one if I so choose. No, it sounds shit. Everyone knows it sounds shit. And the other one sounded clearly better. So we have two things. We have subjective, meaning individual taste preference. Maybe Harry liked the first take, but Bob liked the second take more. That's subjective because it depends on the subject. It depends on the individual. But then we have objective, and this means a mind-independent fact. It means a fact which isn't dependent on any mind, because we have things such as, for example, we have a bag of flour or a bag of something, and it says on the packet it's 1 kilogram. And then someone can weigh this and confirm, yes, this thing is indeed 1 kilogram. And someone else weighs it, yes, it is 1 kilogram. So it's objectively 1 kilogram. Now, I personally don't think there's such thing as a mind-independent fact, but I'm not going to get into any of that now because I want to keep this video free of philosophy and just keep it basic. So, but we have this kind of divide between it's subjective and Bob might like it, but Harry might not. And then we have objective. You can't argue with it because I can just point to it and say that's 1 kilogram. It's a fact. We can weigh it. And if you disagree with me, we can just weigh it and we can see who's right and who's wrong. And if it is 1 kilogram on the scales, then you're wrong and I'm right. And so we've got these two different things. But the example that I've just demonstrated here with these different takes, it seems that that doesn't apply, because on one hand, it seems that it's not subjective because no one's honestly gonna prefer that crappy take. I deliberately made it to be crappy. Everyone knows it's crappy. You can hear it's crappy. No one's preferring that because it is obviously crappy for various different reasons. But I can't then say objectively it's crappy because there is some objective way that I should have done it. For example, I'm not allowed to record the vocal further away. Well, people are going to disagree with you there. Phil Collins is his amazing influential drum sound was based on the microphone being further away and them gating it and stuff like that.
We had two studio areas, and in order to hear anybody talking at any place in whichever studio they were in, they developed this massively huge compressor. So one day Phil's tuning his drums up, messing around, and I pressed the reverse talkback for whatever reason to hear him or his roadie talking, and suddenly there's this sound that comes out of the monitors, and everyone goes, bloody hell, that's unbelievable. Let's have some of that. The mics that we put in the ceiling, basically, that were connected into the board, we just used any old mic that was lying around. Anyway, the reason this mic was used was because people looked at it and said, it was actually a dynamic mic. No one would ever use that for recording anything. It was just lying around in a box. So we thought, sod it, we'll just stick that up.
And like the singer from Tool will record his vocals through a pipe or something far away or whatever.
I think that was on. It's on, the click's pretty good.
Tool's records sound amazing. What about the performance? There's no performance magical rulebook which says that I need to sing in a certain way. So there's no objective reason why, from the performance point of view, from the recording technical point of view, or recording with the same microphone in the same room. The truth here is that there isn't a hard line between these two things. There is something called intersubjectivity, which means that everyone will perceive it in the same way. Not just one subject, but the entire community of subjects. All of the subjects are going to perceive it in the same way. Everyone watching this video is going to say that the second take was crap. Now, is there anything objectively wrong with me coming along and boosting this vocal up 1 dB? Let's have a listen to it and see if anything breaks.
I got the juiciest signal is coming down your axilla.
Some people might even prefer it that way. It's perfectly fine, right? So that could be a subjective difference, whether it was 0 or 1. Like, it doesn't really matter objectively, and people would say that would be subjective. But let's now come along. Is there anything wrong with me boosting it 20 dB? Let's have a listen to that now.
I got the juiciest signal is coming down your axilla. But can you spot me in Cyprus?
Obviously, it's too loud. Obviously, you can hear that the track is ducking down in the background, pumping into the limiter because the vocals are overwhelming the limiter. It sounds absolutely stupid. Obviously, it's too loud. In the context of this rock song, that vocal is too loud, full stop. And if you were an audio engineer and you were like, oh no, I'm not sure. I don't know if that's too loud or not. Maybe it's not too loud. You would get fired because you would suck. Everyone knows it's too loud. It's a fact. It's too loud. The point that I'm trying to make is there are some things that when I raise this vocal 20 dB, it is wrong. It's obvious that it's wrong. And anyone who has any competence in audio whatsoever will tell you that it's wrong. And if I duck it down by 50 dB and we listen to it, I didn't mute the vocal, but you can't hear it. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's not subjectively wrong, right? It's not objectively wrong, but it's still wrong in terms of shared convention of what we do as audio engineers, and any good audio engineer will tell you that that's wrong. So music is not subjective, it's not objective, it's got elements of intersubjectivity and shared conventions. That's the whole point of what I was trying to get in my previous video. I stand by that 100%, and I think my previous video on the matter was pretty good. It was just too philosophically blah 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 for people who are generally going to be watching my content. If I was a philosophy channel, then fair enough, but I'm not a philosophy channel, I'm an audio channel, and so I think this demonstrates what I'm getting at a bit more.